Wow, this week's deep dive. It's like, I don't know, we've stepped into a time machine or something, the
Yeah.
age of AI.
It really is remarkable how pervasive it's become. And what's interesting to me is we're not just talking about robots playing chess anymore,
Yeah.
right? You've given us everything from algorithms that predict pandemics to, well, robots you can actually cuddle with.
Okay, so let's dive right into this AI explosion. And I think the first thing that we have to acknowledge, just looking at all of this, is AI is everywhere. Seriously, everywhere.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Like, take Adobe and their new Firefly video model. Video editors can generate clips from just text prompts now. I mean, imagine what that means for filmmaking. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there's this story from, get this, Outback Australia about an AI retinal scanner. It's diagnosing blindness in these really remote communities. Just incredible potential for good there.
And don't even get me started on Wall Street. AI is like this whole new player, right? I mean, every time there's an advancement, particularly with anything from NVIDIA, investors go crazy. It's like the entire stock market is riding this AI wave.
It really highlights how deeply integrated AI is becoming in, well, everything. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's driving investments, shaping global markets. It's even sparked this whole debate about how we even value tech companies in the long run.
Speaking of debates, one thing we're seeing in these sources is this really interesting showdown brewing, OpenAI versus Google, in the battle for AI dominance.
It is a little bit like watching this really intense chess match. Only the pieces are, lines of code and these massive data sets. Both companies are just constantly releasing upgrades, new products. It's this constant back and forth.
And the stakes are high. I mean, get this. Supposedly, OpenAI is going to be pouring $3 billion, yes, billion with a B, into training their next AI model. What could possibly justify that kind of investment?
Well, it gives you a sense of just how complex these cutting-edge models are becoming. They are incredibly data intensive, which obviously translates to massive computing power resources. I think OpenAI is basically betting that this investment will leapfrog them ahead in the race to create even more powerful AI.
And this leads us to another theme that's coming up in a lot of this material, which is that as AI is evolving at this breakneck speed, it's raising all these questions about, how we manage this technology responsibly.
Absolutely. We're seeing this tension everywhere. I mean, on one hand, you've got material here about AI being used to create these personalized diabetes treatments. But then on the other hand, you've got reports of TikTok, of all companies, replacing hundreds of human content moderators with AI systems.
It's almost like AI is holding up this mirror to humanity. We're being forced to really examine our priorities, our values, and how we actually want to shape the future with this incredibly powerful tool at our disposal.
It's a lot to process, for sure.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I think it would be helpful to maybe zoom in on some specific examples, little intriguing nuggets from your research stack that kind of bring all of this to life.
One thing that jumped out at me was the fact that this year's Nobel Prizes in both physics and chemistry were awarded to scientists whose work was, get this, fundamental in advancing AI.
So it's like AI is becoming the bedrock of scientific discovery itself, which makes you wonder, in this age of increasingly advanced AI, what will future Nobel Prizes even look like?
Right. And especially since there's now this proposal to create an actual AI Nobel Prize to, formally recognize groundbreaking contributions to the field.
It just goes to show you how quickly the conversation around AI is changing. I mean, we're not just talking about the technology itself anymore, but how to guide its development, how to reward innovation, and ultimately how to ensure that it benefits humanity as a whole.
And navigating this new terrain isn't always smooth sailing, right? Like, there's that story about OpenAI potentially facing a trademark lawsuit over its name. Just highlights another wrinkle in this whole rapidly unfolding story.
It's a good reminder that even as AI pushes these boundaries of what's technologically possible, it's still operating within the same, well, legal and ethical frameworks as any other industry.
Precisely. And really understanding those frameworks is going to be essential for any company hoping to make it in the AI space long term.
Okay, so we've got AI impacting global pandemics, our creative processes, and of course those big ethical questions are right there under the surface. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think next we need to dive a little deeper into how AI is actually being used to address real-world problems, from personalized medicine to, like we said before, pandemic prediction.
Okay, so we've laid out the AI landscape, right? It's everywhere, it's powerful, and it's definitely raising some big questions. But let's get down to, I don't know, brass tacks. How is AI actually being used to tackle real-world problems?
Well, one area with just massive potential is healthcare. You sent over this article about this new AI tool, and
Yeah.
get this, it creates personalized diabetes treatment plans. It's really a game changer.
It really is amazing. These researchers over at Bradford University, they're basically using AI to analyze all this patient data, and then it tailors treatment strategies for, hopefully the best possible outcome for that person. It's like precision medicine in action.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
what's so exciting is that it's not just diabetes. I mean, we're seeing similar things happening using AI to personalize treatments for all sorts of conditions.
It's like taking the guesswork out of medicine, right?
Right.
Like no more one size fits all. It's about getting the right treatment to the right patient at the right time.
And it all comes down to data, right?
Mhm.
Because that's what AI thrives on. And in healthcare, that means we're talking about more informed decisions and hopefully, way better outcomes for patients.
And, speaking of data, we can't forget about how AI is totally changing the game in terms of, well, pandemic preparedness.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, researchers are using AI to go through mountains of data. We're talking travel patterns, climate info, even what's happening on social media to try and catch potential outbreaks before things get out of control.
It's like having an early warning system for global health crises, which, when you think about it, it's pretty amazing. Can you imagine what we could have done with this kind of tech even, like, a couple of years ago?
It is a powerful tool, no doubt. But of course, then you've got to think about how do we manage all of this data, making sure people's privacy is protected and all that while still using it to do good. It's a lot.
It is a real balancing act for sure. And it seems like every time you turn around in AI, there's another balancing act, right? Like, look at the rise of these AI-powered shopping assistants. So on the one hand, you've got things like Amazon just came out with this new assistant called Rufus, right? And it's supposed to help you make better decisions about what you're buying.
Yeah, which sounds great in theory, right? It's like having this super savvy shopping buddy who's doing all the research, comparing prices, even offering recommendations.
Yeah, no more buyer's remorse, right? But then, you have to wonder, how are these tools going to end up shaping our shopping habits? I mean, are we becoming too reliant on AI to make these decisions for us? Even with something as, I don't know, as simple as buying a new pair of shoes.
It's an important question. And especially as these technologies get even more, I don't know, sophisticated and ingrained into our lives, like where's the line between helpful assistance and basically giving up our own decision-making?
Right. It's like that old saying, with great power comes great responsibility. Except now the power isn't just in the hands of the people creating AI, but with us, the people using it. We have to be informed and discerning and just really think about how we use these tools.
I think that's exactly right. And speaking of, well, thought-provoking applications, you included some really interesting stuff about AI and art, This isn't just about AI making art, writing music, poetry even. It's really changing how we even think about creativity itself.
It's true. It's like AI is challenging our very definition of what it means to be creative. And obviously, with that comes a whole bunch of questions. Can AI be original? Does it change how we think about, like, intellectual property?
Yeah, these are big questions that artists, musicians, writers, really all of us are going to have to figure out. But I think one thing's for sure, AI is definitely changing creative expression in ways we could never have imagined even a few years ago.
No question. It's a really exciting time to be following this field, but it's also a time for, stepping back and engaging with AI critically. It can't just be about what AI can do, but also what it should do.
And that brings us back to the human element, right? I mean, we've talked about AI in healthcare, online shopping, even art. But maybe the biggest impact is happening at the individual level.
Meaning, like, how AI is changing us.
Exactly.
So it's not just about how AI is changing, like, the world out there, it's changing us too, right here, right now.
It really is. And it makes you think, with all this stuff happening so fast, are we keeping up?
That's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, it's one thing to read about these billion-dollar AI models, but are we really evolving alongside all of this, as people?
Because it's not enough to just be impressed by the latest, AI-generated video or whatever. Or even to just feel kind of uneasy about robots taking jobs. It's about, are we really engaging with this on a deeper level? Developing that critical thinking to understand the impact it's having, the awareness to use it responsibly.
Exactly. Like, yeah, that AI shopping assistant is cool, but am I really thinking about how it could be, like, I don't know, influencing me, steering me towards certain brands or something?
Or even AI in art, right? It's easy to be blown away by a cool painting. But are we asking the hard questions about where it came from, what it means to be creative when AI is involved?
It's almost like we need a new way of seeing things, like AI literacy or something that goes way beyond just knowing how to use the latest app.
I love that, AI literacy. Because it really isn't just about the tech itself. It's about the ripple effects, right? And how it
Mhm.
changes our jobs, relationships, how we see ourselves even.
Totally. Like, remember that story about Mouflin, the AI pet, designed to, like, be your friend and give emotional support?
That's wild, right? Kind of scary, kind of cool. Makes you think about what it even means to have a companion,
Yeah.
what role tech plays in our lives,
Mm.
what it means to be human when AI is getting so good at being, well, not.
It's a lot to wrap your head around, which I think is why it's so important to really dig into this stuff, go beyond just the hype and the fear and really understand what it all means for all of us.
We can't just be along for the ride, right? We
Nope.
have to be a part of figuring out where this goes.
Exactly. So I think as we wrap up this whole deep dive on AI, the question I'll leave everyone with is, how is all of this changing you?
Because those answers, everyone figuring that out for themselves, that's what will determine the future of AI.
And on that note of personal exploration and the always evolving world of AI, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.